Hello, everybody. My name's Andrew. This is Alex and Christopher. We're actually missing Taylor. She's sick. We'll try to do it without her. So we were tasked with coming up with best management practices for a new community park in northern Peoria. We had a lot of fun putting these together, and we hope Peoria can use some of our suggestions as they start creating the park. So we want to start by giving a little bit of background about the project and on the city of Peoria itself. So Peoria's in the early design phases of a new $30 million multi-use park. The fact that they're in this early design phase right now gives them a pretty unique opportunity for them to create a new kind of park, one that incorporates these sustainability principles throughout each phase of the planning, the design, and the construction process. Hopefully the result will be a park that Peoria residents will be able to, will enjoy and want to go to, that they can be proud of, one that minimizes its negative effects on the environment, while at the same time maximizes its utility. It's important to note that there's been a really high buy-in from leadership all the way up to the mayor. They've acknowledged the benefits that these parks can have on the overall quality of life for its residents. And also it's important to note that other cities around the valley have been incorporating these principles into their own parks. So we want Peoria to be able to compete with these parks and try to make Peoria and the park itself a destination of its own. These are some pictures of Chandler and Mason, what they've done. So the city of Peoria itself, it's around 175 square miles. The population is about 166,000, and it's continuing to grow. I think it's grown about 8% between 2010 and 2014. That's compared to about 6% in Phoenix. The picture here kind of shows that Peoria is planning for growth. The left side is kind of showing the infrastructure that's already been built, but the residences and the neighborhoods aren't there yet. The home ownership rate is pretty high. It's around 71%. This is compared to Phoenix and around the state. I think average is around 65%. So I think this statistic shows that the people that are living in Peoria plan on sticking around, and they plan on trying to create a sense of place in Peoria. They're going to try to involve in more civic activities and try to become part of the community. The park itself is located in northern Peoria. It'll be about 450 acres, and 80 of those acres will be dedicated to facilities. Here are some of the guiding principles that we think are the highest priority when they're designing the park. The first is to design it for all ages and capabilities. That includes all mobility degrees. So we want to be able to ensure that both young and old people can come here and enjoy their time. With that, we also need to plan for increased population and increased heat in the future. That might include maximizing shady areas in the park or conserving water whenever we can. We also want to purchase with end of product life in mind, and we want the materials we use to be durable, and whenever possible, we want them to be local, recycled, and non-toxic. Lots of times people think this has to be more expensive, but that's not necessarily the case. A lot of the sustainable materials can actually be cheaper, especially if you do it in the long run. And lastly, we want to create a park that's unique, that attracts people, is artistic, and kind of reflects the values of the community.
So we outline characteristics for park design and landscaping to maximize fiscal responsibility and sustainability. So when purchasing products or vegetation, it's really important that they require little to no water or maintenance, and that they're chemical free. This saves the city money, and it's good for the environment as well. And when following those principles, green infrastructure can provide a lot of ecosystem services, including increased shade, reduced urban heat island effect, all these things that you guys are pretty aware of. And then one form of green infrastructure, which is pretty effective, is community agriculture. And this has the additional benefits of education, food, and social connection. And the city of Peoria already has a park that has a citrus grove in it. And so expanding into the new park isn't really a new idea. But we do recommend diversifying a little bit beyond citrus, maybe having pomegranate bushes and date palms and things like this. And it also provides a great opportunity for social services to partner with local schools to ensure that the food actually gets to those people who need it most. And lastly, artistic and low-impact shade structures can be created through a partnership with local schools and local artists. So the community can have more buy-in in the park and feel connected to it, and it also creates a more unique place for them to come and relax. So we want to design a park where everyone can come and play, like Andrew hinted at. We want everyone, no matter their age or mobility, to be able to come and enjoy. And likewise, when you go on a play set, you don't want to touch it and burn yourself. And you also don't want it to melt. Very important things. We live in the desert, so we want all materials to be heat resistant. And also, purchasers should consider the proximity of the material, the percentage recycled content, the connection to the natural landscape, and then the end of use recyclability. And so for the connection to natural landscape, creating kind of a play set from rammed earth that mimics boulders and canyons for kids to come play on and climb on could be a great way to connect where we are with play. And so when you go to a park, you want everyone in your family to have something great and fun to do, right? You don't want anyone to be bored. So we have the list of play options here, and there's more in the report. But just come with me on a journey right now. Imagine you and you come in with your family and you're going to send your kid over to the Adventure Playground, which is a non-traditional playground design that encourages creative play and challenges them a little bit more. And so this example up here with the little green hammocks is an example of that. Not very challenging, but creative. And then you can have the parents or people watching the children walk or run on a track that encircles the playground. So you're no longer confined to sitting at the bench, just staring at them to make sure they're safe. You can still be active while you watch. And then you can send the teenagers, young adults, and those really spry older adults over to the obstacle course. And then grandma and grandpa can go use the fitness equipment designed for the elderly. This is actually really popular in Northern Europe and Japan. We're just a little slow to catch on in America, and so Peoria could really lead the way and make this a little more popular, hopefully, in America, because they deserve to have fitness and play as well, I would say. And then if you get tired of exercising your body and you want to exercise your brain, you can go over to the shaded chess tables and play chess, or you can play the native plant identification game. And that will be available in Braille, Spanish, and English to ensure everyone can come and play. And lastly, bird watching is a huge industry in the valley. And if Peoria wants a piece of that pie, we definitely recommend enhancing the bird habitat in the area that's going undeveloped. I think it's like, 200 acres or whatever that's going undeveloped. And so that's mostly going to be trails. So just adding in bird habitat can attract the birds, which attracts tourists and citizens and their tax dollars, which isn't bad.
So when it comes to accessible gatherings in our park, first and foremost, we want there to be a very large picnic area. We want this park to be able to accommodate large groups of people for specific events. Also, we want an electrified stage, so that paired with the large gatherings would promote event planning there, stuff like concerts and other social gatherings. And then since we're going to be wanting to accommodate such a large amount of people, we want there to be adequate bins for recycling and trash. And along with those, we want there to be proper signage. So not only will it tell you where they are to decrease littering, but maybe some signs to say, hey, this is and what is not recyclables to reduce contamination in the park. And we also want it to be very accessible to all people. Bikes, we want bike paths, walking paths, and we want there to be a shaded, solar power enabled bus stop. So when people are waiting for the bus, they can charge their electronics. I know everyone's always looking for a power outlet to charge their phone these days. And then we also want it to be ADA friendly. We want people with disabilities to be able to get around freely and with ease. So, yes, next. And as for the facilities themselves, we want the materials for the buildings to be ethically sourced, meaning that they're recycled if possible. Things like bricks and wood and tiles can all come from recycled materials like plastic bottles and bags and recycled newspapers. And we want the cleaners and paints for the facilities to be low VOCs, which is volatile organic compounds. VOCs have negative effects on urban haze and also the quality of air inside the buildings. So we also want them to be have passive heating and cooling. This is kind of basically saying, like an example is having the windows face either east or west or north and south. Obviously, going east and west would allow for more sun to come in and heat it in the wintertime. North and south would decrease heating, but still give you adequate light. So if you want to keep it a little cooler during the summer, maybe go north and south. Also, green walls would be implemented, depending on where it's angled towards. They get an adequate amount of sunlight and increase insulation for the building naturally. And then we want to be able to get a living building, agree with the Living Building Challenge, which is certification that the building is sustainable, and things like the materials used, water usage, energy usage, equity, and just the beauty of it all.
Great, so this is just a summary of our key recommendations that were mostly already discussed. The only point that we haven't discussed is to meaningfully engage the citizens. We definitely want to ensure that their needs are met. We're not, forcing our ideas of an adventure playground on these people who don't even want an adventure playground. So definitely need to engage them and make sure that we're meeting their needs. And we just want to thank Lisa for this opportunity. It's such a unique project to be able to investigate this, and I think we all had a lot of fun. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions? Yeah.